This conference will now be recorded.
Trustee Jennings, Trustee Rogers, Trustee Warren,
Here.
Vice President Spillman,
Here.
and President Gaines.
Here. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
There's not.
Okay. Motion to approve the agenda.
I move that we approve the agenda.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the agenda. All in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. The minutes from the February 1st, 2022 special meeting as written.
Move we approve the minutes as written.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Are we ready? Old business.
Approve the transfer of real estate located at 518 and 522 North D Street, owned by the Arkansas City Land Bank, to Cowley House of Hope.
And see no one from, they're here. Anyone have anything they need to say? Okay.
Well, I might say that since most of our property, that all of our property that's in the land bank, that the reason why we put it in the land bank to clear the liens and stuff off of, and then hopefully that somebody will either buy it for $1 or whatever to get it back on the tax rolls. And since this property here is not going to go back on tax rolls, it really doesn't fit, to me, it doesn't fit the purpose of our land bank way it's written up. So that's my feelings on it.
Okay.
Move we do not approve the transfer of the real estate located at 518 and 522 North D Street, owned by Arkansas City Land Bank, to Cowley House of Hope Incorporated.
I'll second that.
She's saying to not
Correct.
transfer. Have we motioned correctly?
Yes.
That we do. Okay. So it's been moved and seconded that the real estate at 518, 522 North D not be transferred to the Cowley House of Hope. Do we have any further discussion?
I do. I think that since I think we had one of our commissioners went around and talked to the people that lives in that particular property. And I think it was 100% that they did not want that there, and they didn't know exactly what was going on. So that's,
And also, they had met with the Ministerial Alliance, and what they presented to the Ministerial Alliance to us here. I just don't think they have all their ducks in a row to begin with. The criteria of the land bank.
Okay. Mr. Jennings, we're on old business, item number 1. And it's been moved and seconded to not transfer to the Cowley House of Hope, those at 518 and 522 North D. Did you have any comments?
I think it's probably an anticipated move on their part. So
Okay. So we are voting now to not transfer 518, 522 North D to the Cowley House of Hope. Any further discussion? All in favor signify with aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Okay. I think, do we need to discuss the land bank sales plan?
You didn't have anything that.
Unless you have a question.
Does anybody have a
do
question?
we have any other properties that we may be putting in that land bank that you could foresee down the road?
We'll probably look at the next tax sale.
Okay.
Other than that,
What about the property down at the Sleet Edition where those ball fields are at? So we need to, even though I know we don't have it, the city owns it, but you know,
We could put it in there if you desire. You
yeah,
have to do that as a city committee.
yeah.
If you want to do that, that's
Would there be purpose by doing that or?
We could look at that at a later time, yeah.
I have just a question in ignorance about roll call. I know the history, I think goes back to, can't talk now, goes back to a relationship between the city and, at the time, that's ancient history, I know, the Habitat for Humanity in terms of that. And they were dealing with individual lots, undeveloped lots or lots with properties that had moved to state of condemnation. I noticed that now we're dealing with larger sects of land, you know, up to like city blocks. Is there a reason why we've chosen to stick with only the delinquent tax amount or the county's appraised value as opposed to market value for the larger blocks of land, especially in the instance where we're dealing with entities that might be more for profit rather than like the Habitat, which is just a kind of a benevolence type thing?
In general, and that's in the policy directives. It says to go for to set it at the appraised value the county has, but it also says in there that we can look at values. And of course, this body has a choice to fix it, whatever bill is appropriate for. They start with the county appraisals.
I just know that there are a couple of things that we aren't making any more of them, and one of them is land. And so you start to think in terms of whether we're just giving away something that might be a potential revenue stream. I'm thinking more in terms of not the individual things and the person that comes and says, hey, can I get this, neglected property, but more.
I think what we're trying to do is get it back on a tax roll so we can be able to get, you know.
Yeah, I understand that. I'm saying there's a intrinsic value, an appraised
Sure.
value, and a market value.
Sure.
And when I think of market value, I'm probably more prone to think in terms of what if we had, well, are we going to have our, I'm just thinking in terms of what the true value, what the true worth of a piece of property is. Is it just what the county appraises a vacant lot for, or should it be linked to developmental potential?
Part of the problem is though, if you were to bring in one of our local commercial appraisal people, they would struggle to value a vacant lot because it's so hard. There's no comparables. And so it's hard to say what individual, like if we were to say hire a commercial appraiser, like just for example, they would probably look at me like, what are we supposed to value? Because it's really difficult for them to come up with it. Sometimes the market value of a vacant piece of land is worth however much somebody is willing to pay for it.
Yeah. What's 40? I mean, the person wants to buy 40 acres of rural land. I don't think they have a problem with assessing the value to 40 acres of land. So that's kind of where my process is what the larger the sector of land, I think the more it has for potentially a market value also. But all right, anyway, thank you for your answer.
Sure.
Since we're going to have a retreat down the road, just open discussion. Okay. Of all the properties we have in town, it might be behoove us to take a look at on the properties and see if there's any advantage, but to put them in the land bank or not, or whatever, to try to generate, some interest in maybe building or whatever, on the thing. We could talk about it, in there.
Any further discussion?
I have one question of Josh. When Mr. Davis transferred property to him, be informed that he has 6 months to start building on that and that kind of thing.
He was, however, I should also tell you that he's backed out of the transaction. So that is back in the land bank, that particular.
Where was that at?
That was at 801 North F Street.
Oh, we did.
He was going to build a garage there, wasn't it?
Yes, he was informed.
Why did he back out,
He said that he had another property that matched what he didn't need to build on. I think it was already.
Okay.
And also on that time commitment, if they're making progress, Mike Bellis has the authority to extend that time for them. So if he sees it fit, he can do that. Yeah. Anything further for the land bank?
No, Madam Mayor, not on my part.
I move we adjourn.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded that we adjourn. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We're adjourned. Randy.